Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Engaging Members Across the Digital Divide, brought to you by Results Direct and RD Mobile. I'm Cecilia Sadovich, Executive Vice President with Results Direct, and with me today is Laura Graham, Senior Solutions Consultant. I've had the pleasure of working with Laura for 10 years now and just collaborating with her on strategies for associations and really just how to do this has been such a pleasure. So I'm excited about what we have to talk with you about today. Laura really brings like the results in Results Direct. And so, not to set your expectations too high, no pressure, Laura. I think
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
we did.
Cecilia.
All right. Well, so let me tell you a little bit about Results Direct and RD Mobile if you're not already familiar with us. We're really in the business of member engagement solutions. So while what we do is digital strategy and website design and analytics and usability testing and event apps and mobile apps and all of that, that's just the stuff behind member engagement. So the webinar today, we're really going to focus on how to bring engagement to your members, what to do across these devices. And just a quick note, Results Direct does this already for over 400 associations around the world, primarily in the US and in Europe. And we'd love to work with you as well. So let's talk about it. Today's learning objectives. We are going to talk about the challenges we see for associations in engaging on both web and mobile apps. We're going to talk about creating that unified engagement strategy and then maximizing engagement across web and mobile apps. So what is the digital divide? Because that can mean, I feel like that means different things to different people. So I'll tell you what that means to me and Laura, right? The first thing is the strategy gap. Web and mobile devices, if you're not really focused on the devices that your members are using and how they're approaching your information, you're going to have a gap there. And it doesn't have to be hard. We'll talk about the strategy and how to utilize those things. I think in a sense, this becomes a mental block of sorts for many organizations because we're already doing so much. And then it can feel like adding a mobile app is adding another thing. We also see divisions in communications. And by no means, I'm not suggesting that you make every email a push notification. Please don't do that. But I do think that there are opportunities there to communicate through mobile apps, in addition to the communication that you're already doing, and that there are ways to balance that communication. We also see divisions in the audience targets. So of course, there are different audiences for different devices and different preferences. I really don't get too bogged down in that. I think sometimes we're overthinking it. And then last but not least, member versus non-member. There's a lot we can do across web and mobile to engage those non-members and convert them into members. So we can talk a little bit about what that's going to look like. All right, so just to like really simplify this, because I think a lot about all the different things that the associations we work with do, right? There's emails and there's advocacy and there's events. When you really kind of process all of that down to how the member, like where does the member actually get engaged? It's going to be on the computer or laptop. It'll be on their phone and it'll be at in-person events. Those are really the only three places in which they're processing that information or receiving information from their association. And by simplifying that picture, I had this realization that if you don't have that mobile app, like, yes, you should have a responsive website. That's thing number one. But that's responsive. That's reacting to members clicking through on an email or from social that they're landing on your responsive website. You really need that app experience where you have a big gap in that engagement. So where member engagement happens is on in those three places. But what is the information that they're processing, right? What's the information that they're getting? So communications, right? We'll see that through email and through push notifications. And I think push notifications often get overlooked because of our own personal experiences with push notifications. I don't know how you feel about them. Um, but it can be quite convenient for the member, and that is something that they're utilizing in their world outside of their association. So it's something that you can bring and add convenience to your member when you're doing it strategically. Content means a lot of things. And the number one place that you have all of that content is already on your website, right? That is the central content repository for your newsletters, for any publications that you have, for your libraries of content. Most organizations have big libraries with lots of like research database kinds of things within them, big taxonomies of classification. All of that still belongs there, and it can be accessible through the responsive website. But what content can you provide that focuses on adding value in the mobile app, right? And are there places where it's sharing that content with the website, really bringing it together? Conferences is probably the best place that I see associations already using all three. You have your conference website, you have your conference mobile app. It's already an in-person event. You're mixing the three together. You've figured out the balance. And so there's a really robust system there already that we can leverage to build on and build that greater member engagement. And then last but not least, communities. I think people tend to think of communities and they think of the technology behind communities. And I do mean that, but there's community that's much bigger than that within organizations. That's your special interest groups. That's the people that are meeting in person at your event and then wanting to stay connected. It doesn't have to be a technical thing behind it. So there's a lot of potential with communities and bringing that to your mobile app, in part because that is already where a lot of people are doing communities. And what do I mean by that? So Facebook, I think something like 98% of users are using the mobile app for Facebook. They're not going to the responsive website. Um, but even if you look at something like Instagram, which I was looking for that statistic, I wanted to be able to compare those two. And what I found yesterday was that on average, people are accessing Instagram 331.2 times a month. Y'all are sending a lot of reels, man. But what that tells me is that people want that content from their peers. And I think they want that content from their peers within their association as well. And the mobile app can serve that together with the website.
Mhm.
So why does member engagement even matter in the first place? Laura, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So we've been working with associations for 30 years now, as Cecilia mentioned. Um, we know that associations deliver incredible value. But if members aren't seeing it and if they're not using it, that value is lost. So engagement is how you unlock that value. And it's not a bonus. So it is the backbone of retention, of recruitment, and revenue. So let's face it, Cecilia's talking about Facebook and Instagram, other platforms like Amazon and Netflix and TikTok. They've completely changed our expectations as users and buyers. So your members are no different. And just like you, they're looking for those personalized experiences and quick access to the information that they need. While your website continues to play a huge role in your member engagement strategy, it's so much bigger than that. So, Cecilia, let's talk about the website. Yeah, along with technology, the member engagement landscape is evolving super rapidly. I mean, we can't keep up, right? What worked yesterday might not work today. And when members come to your website or are engaging with you, they're looking for more than just information. They're looking for those experiences, the interactions, and opportunities to connect. And your website is still the first point of member engagement in a lot of situations. It's the first opportunity that you're going to have to convey your value to new users and prospective members. And that first impression matters. We all know that you don't get a second chance at a first impression. So you got to make it count. If your website feels outdated, if it's hard to navigate, or isn't mobile friendly, you risk losing that critical first connection. So, what does a highly engaging website look like? Today's most successful association websites are no longer just going to be repositories of content. They've become those dynamic communication hubs for engagement, for advocacy, and professional development. So the question is, does your website truly reflect your association's value? And is it prepared to meet your members' evolving needs? So it's not just about looking good, it's about utility. An engaging website feels personalized, it feels accessible and user friendly, regardless of when they're interacting with you or what device they're using, whether that's on their desktop, their mobile app, or a tablet. So members should feel like the site was made just for them and guides them naturally to the information and interactions they care about most. They want a sense of, you know me, so give me, what you know that I'm coming for. Um, a highly engaging website is designed with your members' needs at the forefront. All right, let's talk about ISHLT. This is the International Society for Heart and Lung Transplantation. And yes, that's a mouthful. Um, they have over 3,600 members in over 60 countries, and all of this is run by a powerhouse team of just 13 staff. When they came to us, their website was outdated, it was hard to navigate, and mobile unfriendly. Members were frustrated, to say the least, and that frustration really showed internally as well. The technology just wasn't working for them. So they didn't just need a redesign, they needed a transformation. We partnered with ISHLT to build a member first experience. And we started this by selecting a CMS, a content management system, that would empower their staff and really streamline their internal workflows. Efficiency is key, especially for small staff associations. We integrated real member feedback into every stage of our process and created intuitive and user informed navigation. And the results exceeded their expectations. So within the first year of launching their new website, ISHLT saw a 50% increase in early renewals. That's huge. That's revenue. That's retention right there. Member support calls noticeably dropped, and staff are, spending way less time answering the same questions over and over. Um, and to quote Jess Burke, ISHLT's Director of Marketing and Communications, small associations can have nice things. And I want to say that louder for the people in the back. Small associations can have nice things. All right, another example, we're looking at TMA, and this is the Turnaround Management Association. Their old website was a challenge. We'll put it nicely. It was a challenge. And it was really a stock image nightmare. So for an organization that really thrives on connection and networking. Um, this was a significant gap. The old site didn't reflect their vibrant network. It was hard to navigate, it lacked real member presence, and didn't put UX first. So we worked closely with TMA's team throughout this project, and we brought in their members from their board, their committees, and members at different career stages to make sure that we captured everyone's needs. This upfront planning was crucial to making the final product both member friendly and staff friendly. As the new website showcases their real members and the images and the videos that are on the new site, this was key to transforming the site into a truly member centric experience. Now, when the members come to the website, they see themselves. And that is so important to remember. You want prospective members, new users, existing members to come to the website and feel that they found it. This is where they belong. We also introduced TMA to our mobile app during this process, and it became a game changer. So now the app powers their in person connections at their events and aligns perfectly with TMA's mission to foster that community. It started with a smarter website, and the mobile app amplified it. Together, they've totally transformed how TMA engages and connects with their members.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about, if you have a terrific responsive website, why do you need a mobile app? I think that's the question that is on people's mind. It certainly was the question I saw in one of the association communities last week. And so here's my answer to why. Here's the results direct answer to why. The first thing is people of working age are close to 100% adoption of smartphones. And when we look at the statistics in terms of how people are using their devices, there's a very small percentage of folks that are only using their mobile devices and a very small percentage that are only using their desktop or laptop devices. So that means a huge chunk, that 68%, are multi-platform. That means that they are looking to do the activities they need to do with whatever device is the most convenient for them at the time. And they're doing that just in their everyday lives. So this means your members as well. It's no longer a matter of our members skew older or our members skew younger or have some kind of particular need. This is how the majority of people are using devices. But what's really critical and drives the point home for me in terms of mobile apps is understanding engagement. So compared to a responsive website, that mobile website engagement, where a user gets an email or sees something on LinkedIn and clicks through to read more about it, that level of engagement is certainly serves a purpose and has a place and needs a strong responsive website to support it. If you have a mobile app that people find value in and come back to, their engagement with that is 5.5 times more than the responsive website. And so that is why we say having that mobile app is a critical part of your member engagement strategy.
And Cecilia, I just want to point out how important, especially right now, it is to break through everything that we see on social media and all of the emails that are coming into everyone's inboxes. This is your way to stand out and get in front of your members in a new and different way, and making sure that that value comes first.
Right, exactly. It's really funny to me that inboxes have become so sophisticated now. It's not just, oh, it got into the spam filter, but now there's this in-between place of, frequent content that you receive or promotional content that you receive or social content. The inbox is no longer one inbox. Uh, the mail clients have already been trying to filter some of that stuff out for us. So again, that's where the push notifications can really fill an important gap in communications for the association. So let's use a real life example. The British Orthopedic Association, their goal was much like many of your goals, which is to communicate and provide access and to their members in a way that shows all of the value that they have to offer to their members. That is a problem that we hear over and over again from associations, is that the members don't know what we do for them. They don't access enough of what we offer. Now, the catch to that, though, is that we also need to make it affordable, right? So how do you make an affordable solution that also highlights the critical pieces of your membership value proposition? Well, for the British Orthopedic Association, it was adding Engagefully 365 to their already successful website. They went live in August of 2021. Excuse me a minute. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat.
'Tis the season, allergies and conferences.
Right?
Here, yeah.
All right. So these guys went live in August of 2021. They replaced their event app with 365, which covered 85% of the cost of having that year-round member app. Fast forward to using the year-round portion of the app together with the event app, they have 5,200 known users. They have 4,956 active members out of 5,000. Really think about that. What does it mean to have your members active and engaging with the association? 70% of that engagement happened or began in the first 10 months of the launch of this app. So what are the members coming for? The members are coming for content that is in two categories that can largely apply to most professional associations. First is what I would call the regular use for the member, right? So regular use would be things like news, which they publish 1 to 2 times a month, journal, which they publish 4 times a year. And they have a really special resource called the Orthopedics Online, where members share their experience through videos, much like TMA. They share their experience through videos. That's released once a week. And it's really like a rapid learning type of experience that people can access through the mobile app and do frequently go to see what the latest thought leadership is. Now, the second level of content is on-demand content. It's the information that you need to know when you need to know it. It's that evergreen information that you're like, I know they have something on that. Let me go access that resource. So events fits that space, videos fit that space. But what really makes that work is providing valuable push notifications. And here, the British Orthopedic Association does a terrific job of push notifications 3 to 4 times a month, so roughly once a week. And they're selectively choosing what's valuable to their members to highlight that week and what's top of mind for their organization and their industry. This has enabled them to increase membership. So in member acquisition, they've been able to target non-members that came to the annual Congress and convert them into members through promotions like join by a certain date, get a free event registration, things like that. And then in retention, they're using those push notifications to encourage renewals. So much like we saw with the ISHLT website story, here they're using the mobile app to do a very similar kind of thing. And the combination of those two things can really take your association from here to there. All right, so I spent a lot of time on that one. I'm just going to briefly touch on ASHRAE in case there are trade organizations today at the webinar and you're thinking, well, that was a professional association. How can my trade really use a mobile app? And so when you think about it, your events, I know we've been talking a lot about events, but if you're able to get close to 100% download rate from your events, you can leverage that and pull that in. Really getting members to download the app in the first place is the trickiest thing. And they're already in the habit of downloading your event app. So that's what ASHRAE did here, right? They built upon that event relationship and then added more users by providing exclusive video content for CEU credit. So members are accessing that. And then because they have the audience there, right, because they have so many downloads, then they're able to charge more for ad space and for sponsorship and things like that. So you can kind of see how there's that snowball effect in generating revenue for ASHRAE while at the same time providing value for the members. So what's the strategy? We talked a little bit about some of these case studies and what happened behind those, but let's talk a little bit more about creating that fluid member journey, increasing the reach, and improving that brand loyalty and what I really think of as the brand experience, the association experience. So the first part of the engagement strategy, and this is going to sound kind of painful, you got to put down the devices. Don't think about where it happens or what we're doing to support. What supports your strategic plan? How would you prioritize these items on the right? Are you looking to grow membership? Some groups aren't. That always blows me away. But what will it mean to retain your members, to increase retention by 5%, or to increase revenue, as we saw with ASHRAE, through sponsorship and other non-dues revenue? What would that mean for your organization, and how much more can you do? Not even thinking yet about making any kind of changes to your website or to your mobile app or to your communication strategy. Just really think through, what does engagement mean for the bottom line of our association? And then from there, we want to get back into, what do we do that supports those targets, right? What is the association providing? And so I talked before about these 4 C's, right? Communications, content, conferences, communities. If you have a mobile app that covers one of these, that's great. If you have separate mobile apps that cover these, also good. But if the real value in having these together is actually that you start to get this exponential growth across it. So if we start thinking through the example that I just gave for BOA, right? Converting the non-members that attended the conference into members is huge, right? Providing a new communication channel to the members that attended the conference, also huge. If you have a community, or you can build off of that in-person event into communities or into content, what we see in content over and over again is incredible. Just by having the newsletter and recent articles available, readership increases just because people are coming to the mobile app for other things. So it's really a way of drawing them in and engaging them and pulling them through all of these different pieces of value that you have to offer, just like you do on your website today. And you can bring that in and provide another more natural touch point through the mobile app. So our third engagement strategy is evaluating a year-round engagement app. We provide Engagefully 365. It's not the only mobile app out there. It is my preferred one, but I have a little bias there. But the key here for whatever app you choose is that it complements your tech stack, that you're adding something that can pull in those 4 C's without a lot of extra effort for your association, that still offers the ability for you to manage it and personalize it across your members. That's what's really going to bring some growth to your association. All right, Laura, can you talk a little bit about engagement strategy number 4?
Yes, absolutely. And you're going to notice a lot of overlap in these strategies because we understand that the biggest challenge here is knowing where to start. And you don't need to launch everything at once. In fact, trying to do that can kind of stall momentum. But the key is to just start strategically and in phases. So maybe you start with a mobile app for your upcoming event. Or maybe you start by cleaning up your content on your website. Um, it's all about what makes sense for your audience, your staff, and your tech stack. And here's the good news. So, your members already expect digital experiences to evolve, just like the apps on their phones and all of our phones, right? They're used to updates, they're used to improvements and new features over time. Small steps add up. And you don't need perfect, you need progress. So that leads us to engagement strategy number 5. Okay, spoiler alert, engagement does not grow on trees. I don't know if everybody knew, but I wanted to make sure that was clear. And it definitely doesn't happen overnight. Um, Again, the key, start small, think big, and build smart. Pick one high impact area like streamlining website navigation, then expand from there. Once the website's improved, bring that momentum to mobile. Thinking about a community, and I know just based on the clients and the prospects that we talk to all the time, community is already high up there in terms of priority. If there's not one in place, it's something that is being thought about. Um, but if you're thinking about a community, start by activating a smaller, engaged group of members. Then use the mobile app to keep that going uh, and keep communications consistent. For mobile, we recommend starting with 4 push notifications a month and then mirroring those updates with content on your website. The goal is one message and multiple touch points. So, again, you don't need to do it all at once. Just start one bite at a time and on the way to sustainable and scalable engagement.
Laura, something I really love about working with you that I feel like you brought or that you bring to the clients that you work with is analytics. That sometimes it's, before we can even talk engagement, we need to talk about how are you measuring engagement? How are you measuring success across these different platforms? And I love that you think that way in terms of being able to deliver those results and analyze the impact of any projects that you might take on. So I think that's really effective and helpful in developing those simple plans.
And I totally agree with that, Cecilia. Knowing where you are today and where you want to go is so important because how will you know if it's successful if you're not measuring where you're starting from? So setting those benchmarks of where you are today, what success looks like to you, and then putting that phase strategy in place of how do you get there, and remembering it's not going to happen overnight, um, but you can get there with the right strategy in place. So when we're talking about the website, what can we do right now? Let's get practical. How can we improve your website's engagement? How can we start on that today? First of all, and I mentioned this earlier, clean up your content, archive the outdated stuff, highlight what's valuable, and make sure that it works on mobile because if your site is going to frustrate users on their phones, they're going to leave. Um, Use your data. We were just talking about this. Your data can tell you a lot of things that can help you segment audiences by either, career phase, what they're interested in, when they're coming to your website, and even the topics that they're looking up. So use that data to your advantage and leverage that when you're thinking about holistic improvements to the website, and also, you know, rolling out a mobile app as well. Um, Tighten up your communication strategy using those timely push notifications for urgent updates like events or deadlines. And then again, mirroring that content on your website so members can find it wherever they are. They're not dependent on one device or one channel to get this information. They know that they'll be able to access it regardless. And last but not least, and again, saying this for the people in the back, ask your members. Let's skip the guesswork. Um, let's get real feedback to guide your strategy. Put your members in the driver's seat, and your engagement will follow. Um, we like to, you know, Results Direct, we really like to work with our clients to take assumptions out of it, and a reminder that what we're doing is for our members. And so we want to make sure that we're starting with them when we're thinking big.
I love that you mentioned, putting the members in the driver's seat because, especially for associations that have been around for a long time, there was this long magical period where associations were like the holder of the magic knowledge, right? And the definitive answer to things. And today, we have AI, right? People can ask Chat GPT and who knows
Mhm.
what kind of answer they'll get. But the association still really should be that source of truth. And at the
Uh,
same time, the member needs to be able to drive their experience. And so, how do you go about doing that? How do you tailor your content and provide that personal experience? Laura, you talked about the personal experience on the website. Well, we can bring that into the mobile app as well, right? The users are expecting to have that personalized experience. So at a minimum, there's that member, non-member content, right? But expanding on that, you can have personalized content based on your special interest groups, based on your board members, based on the really engaged members, because while we would love to have 100% engagement, I think that's an unrealistic goal, right? I think for most organizations, you're always going to have some level of lurker. And what you really want to do is have the members who are more engaged pull those lurkers in. And so that becomes a part of your strategy. But in order to do that, you have to personalize the content, personalize the push notifications, personalize the emails, and really get that information out there. Laura, did you have some thoughts you wanted to add to that?
well, I was just going to say, make sure that you're using those highly engaged members as an advocate for your
Mhm.
association. Put them in a position where they're able to tell their story and what their experience has been like with your association. Again, people latch on more to those who look like them or are going through similar experiences to them versus us just saying, "Hey, it's great, I promise." You know, allow them to learn from those others and give them give those engaged members a platform to help you grow that engagement.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm going to assume for a minute here that you have a perfect website, that you are already managing your analytics, that you have already done all of the baseline things that you need to do. And if you haven't, I beg you to go take a look at our small steps, big results resources to enhance your website. So assuming you've done all of that, and you're ready for a 365 member mobile experience. Evaluating the mobile tools, which we talked about, you want it to complement your tech stack. You want to integrate your communications and think about how are we going to build upon what is our strategy for building upon the relationship that we already have with our members through mobile apps. offer unique resources or resources that are more easily accessible through those mobile apps so that members can increase the value. And then provide, start thinking about how are we going to continue with that snowball effect? How are we going to, rather than trying to say we're going to launch a mobile app with everything absolutely in it all at once, start small, just like Laura was saying before, and then build upon that. And it gives you some more touch points with the membership to get them engaged. So we have some time now for questions. Of course, if anyone wants to follow up, do consider Laura and I a part of your uh, resources and people that can help you. We're happy to do one-on-one consultations with you and help you think through your member engagement strategy across devices. We're also happy to answer any questions that you have at this time. So Laura, what have people written in?
So, Cecilia, we have a question, and while we've talked to this in a couple of different ways throughout today's presentation, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of answer this one. So, okay, how do we decide which is the priority when you need both? Talking about a new website and a mobile app. So, how would you respond to that?
Oh, that's a good
It
question.
is a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Really, I think you've got to start with the website. You need, baseline, you need a strong website that supports your needs, that gets your members engaged, that has all of the key components to it first, because you're going to build on that for your mobile app. And so if you really don't have that in place yet, the mobile app can fill a gap, but it won't be as successful as it would be. And so it might not be that you do a total website redesign. It might be that you put some enhancements in place for usability, right? For navigation, for cleaning up content. There's a lot of littler things that we can do to enhance it, and then be mobile app ready. Those are my thoughts about that. Laura, did you have some?
No, I think that's spot on. I think, you know, in a lot of things that we do regarding digital strategy and in life, having that solid foundation in place and building from there is the best way to go about it. So, you know,
What other questions do we have?
well, I'm not seeing any more right away. I think that one covered a couple that came in. Um, but you know, I want to mirror what you said, Cecilia. We know that every organization is in a different place, and wherever you are on your journey, we want to help you. So we'd love to be your partner in creating a web and mobile strategy that works for you and your members. And please reach out. You know, we would love to have just a one-on-one conversation about where you are and how we can best help. Oh, and we do have another question here. So some people are intimidated by apps. Is the process similar to website creation?
Oh gosh, no, it's so much easier.
There
So
you go, everyone. Yes. Get
breathe a
to the
sigh
hard
of
part
relief.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, and so the reason that that is easier is because the mobile app is it's a much smaller screen, right? And sometimes it can be challenging to be sophisticated in how you use that. So it does require some thought and some strategy behind it. But sometimes I think websites are complicated because it's like, oh, there's a whole world of possibilities, and there's so much I can do. And some websites end up to be like these giant kind of repositories of information back to the 80s, right? We're not going to do that with your mobile app. Like that does not make sense. In some cases for your website, it doesn't make sense either. And so, it's greatly simplified. Um, a strong mobile app, a member engagement app, will have a back office that is similar to what you would have for your website, like a content management system that enables you to update that information and make changes. So while it can feel like a big commitment for launch, it is this living, breathing, changing thing over time. And so I think with that, you don't have to work on it for a year before you launch. It's a couple of months type of effort.
Absolutely. And we've gotten a couple more questions. Um, so if the majority of your member base is in their 50s plus, do you find that the age demographics change the need or desire for an app? And I will start off by saying no, not necessarily. Because while that's your existing member base, um, let's make room for talking to those that might be coming on from, younger generation. What the app is going to do is allow you to have those multiple touch points, and giving people options and how they're engaging with you and how you're communicating with them is only going to be helpful in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. What I would say is a membership that is predominantly in that age group might use the app differently, might be looking to access different content within the app, but there's still very much app users. And if you think about it, when the App Store launched 15 years ago, those people in their 50s, they were in their 30s and 40s. They were some of the first adopters because they were the only ones that had enough money to do it, right? And so, because they're early adopters, because they are familiar with mobile apps and smartphones, while I realize that they might seem like they fit into this older demographic because of the maybe sort of a different way of thinking, because we're talking about Gen X, or even tail end boomers if we get into people in their 60s. Um, that group loves technology. They love to look through those things. They're not big on posting about themselves personally, right? Generally speaking, they're not going to be contributing their thoughts necessarily just at random, but they will be accessing that information because it's more convenient for them.
Absolutely. And one more question that we have here that I think we can answer pretty quickly. I know we were scheduled to be done at 10:45, so thank you to everyone that's hanging in there with us. What's the best way to ask members their feedback and get their opinions on the platforms that you have in place? And I would say there's a few different ways to do it, and it can really, I would say, allow your member base's engagement or how you're engaging with them now to kind of steer you in the right direction. There's always membership surveys that you can offer. We also find that you get a lot of great insight when you're, one-on-one conversations, or even doing, small focus groups. And again, sometimes the best way to get that real honest feedback is by using a third party like Results Direct to help you guide those conversations with your members, and really get the insight that you need to meet them where they are. Do you have anything to add, Cecilia?
No, I completely agree with what you said. I think, usability studies, focus groups, I think surveys can be difficult to get responses to in a
Mhm.
sense, because, I don't know about everyone else, but I get survey requests from like every doctor visit for my
Yes.
kids and for my, it gets a little overwhelming. And so what cuts through the noise, at least for me, um, is that more engaged opportunity to be with the association and to really talk through what I need or what would support me in my career and things like that.
And a side benefit of that is it's showing your members that you care, you're listening to them, and that your
Mhm.
members have an opportunity to help shape the future of, you know, communications and your offerings and benefits to them as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I know that we covered a lot. So again, the contact us QR code is up there on the screen. There's also my email address. Don't hesitate to reach out. Would love to have a conversation with you.